Mind's Eye was already one of the biggest gaming disasters in recent memory, but somehow the studio behind it has found another way to make the entire situation even worse than what it already is. So Builder Rocket Boy, who is the developers behind this game, recently held what is being described as an extravagant fan playtest at its Edinburgh headquarters. So normally inviting players into the studio to test upcoming content would be a harmless thing, really? It might even be a smart way to rebuild some trust around the disastrous launch of Mind's Eye. Now, I understand that is a very far reach, but it could be. However, there's one enormous problem with this whole situation. This event happened after the studio reportedly laid off hundreds of employees, and while current and former staff members were protesting outside of the building. How awkward would that be if you were invited and that's what you saw? So now, according to the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain, Builder Rocket Boy spent money flying fans to Edinburgh, providing them with accommodation and bringing them into the studio to test new features added to Mind's Eye. Why anyone would want to do this is beyond me, but okay. So the union claims that these fans were effectively performing work that could have otherwise been completed by some employees who had just lost their jobs. It just keeps getting better, doesn't it? And when you frame it like that, the optics are pretty fucking bad with this. Imagine this, alright? Imagine you're fired after spending years working on this game. You watch the project launch in an unfinished and frankly embarrassing condition, and you lose your job during the fallout, and then the company starts flying out fans into the building to help test its attempted comeback. It's not difficult to understand why former employees would see this as a massive kick in the teeth. So a former Builder Rocket Boy employee named Ben Newbon has accused the event of being little more than a grandstanding gesture from management. He argued that the people running the studio continue to treat the company and its employees as props for their own ambitions. So the union has also accused the studio of wasting money following the layoffs while former workers protested outside of the headquarters during the playtest. Again, if you were someone that was invited in and you went there, that would be so awkward. But to be totally fair, inviting fans to test a game isn't inherently wrong. I mean, we've all seen examples of where it can go pretty wrong. Look at the High Guard shills, for example. But the idea is there, I guess. And we know that developers have used community playtests very often in the past. Players can provide valuable feedback, discover problems that internal teams just won't. And that helps studios understand what their actual audience wants. But here, we have a bit of context to take into consideration as well. So Mind's Eye did not experience an ordinary launch. It became infamous for its technical problems, piss poor reviews, bizarre behavior from management. Remember when this whole game failed because somehow Rockstar was involved with trying to sabotage the game? Yeah, that was a thing. And instead of accepting that the product was simply not ready, the conversation surrounding Mind's Eye has repeatedly drifted towards excuses, conspiracy theories, and increasingly strange attempts to control the narrative. It's like they think we're idiots and we can't see for ourselves what's really going on. The studio has even added a new mission called Blacklisted, which reportedly centers on exposing the alleged saboteurs, which is just, that's some wild brain damage conspiracy theory behavior right there. One former staff member criticized the mission during the protest and described one of the characters as a sexist stereotype, whatever the fuck that means. This whole entire situation doesn't even feel like normal game development. It's like a mockumentary, like a Spinal Tap type movie about a game studio where just everything goes wrong. And now the studio is facing allegations involving employee mistreatment and invasive workplace surveillance. It just gets better, doesn't it? Then, while former employees were protesting outside, fans are being flown in and given accommodation to test the game's comeback update. At some point, somebody inside this company needs to stop and ask whether any of this is truly helping, because Mind's Eye is just too far gone at this stage. It needs major technical improvements, actual good meaningful content added to the game, and a long period of honest communications with the remaining players. It's like at a stage now where, you know the meme, this literally could have been an email. That's where we're at with Mind's Eye. But instead, what we're getting is another controversy that makes management appear to be completely disconnected from the people who actually built the game. Because, well, they are. actually disconnected from the people that built the game. When a game fails this spectacularly, management cannot just blame supposed saboteurs, remove workers, and then act surprised when the remaining community no longer trusts them. It's like we have two options: take responsibility and improve, or start spouting off crazy conspiracy theories. Which one are you gonna do? Oh, they went with the crazy conspiracy theories. Now, while I personally still have many issues with the Cyberpunk game, I can't deny that it did actually get a bit of a comeback. And that could be what Builder Rocket Boy is trying to do with MindsEye. But Cyberpunk recovered to an extent because CD Projekt Red spent years fixing their product. Again, I would argue it's still not what it's supposed to be, but here we are. It did not recover through excuses or increasingly bizarre publicity stunts. Right now, MindsEye needs accountability before it can have any form of redemption. And right now, every new time we hear something new about MindsEye, it just makes it look like the people running the studio have learned nothing, and in fact, they've only gotten worse. Again, we are at the stage now where former employees are protesting outside the building while you're flying in fans, we know what they really are, flying in fans to replace the work they once performed, and you're just not doing anything to repair your reputation. You're kind of proving your ex-employees right in the first place.